There's a number of different issues that need to be addressed and tackled within the leadership world today. And we are going to be bringing you some of the top speakers and thinkers in this space. We're going to be offering some of our own insights, some of our own perspective to help you be the kind of leader you need to be. Welcome to Evolve Leadership, the arena where high-achieving leaders are challenged to redefine their limits. My name is Angus Nelson. I grew up in the United States and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm an executive coach and I've spent my career advising and training leaders from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And here's what I've learned. An old, ineffective leadership framework will always keep you on a hamster wheel, consumed with work-life balance, burnout, and stress. Here on the show, each week we'll help you rethink the path to achievement. We'll help you discover new principles, new philosophies to the modern leader. Look, the world is relentlessly changing, demanding a new era of leaders. It's time to redefine your limits. So enter the arena, my friend. It's time to evolve. Well, hello and welcome to the show. It has been a while since you've heard my voice. If you've been listening to the show for some time, you know that we've been kind of on a hiatus. A lot has changed today on this very show. We're going to introduce some of the things that have changed. Number one is the name. We've gone from Up in Your Business to Evolve Leadership. There's a lot of history and story behind that we'll jump into in just a few moments. But first, I want to introduce you to our senior coach, Tim McLagan, who's now going to be joining me on a lot of these shows. And I want him to introduce himself and tell us all a little bit about who he is and how he got here. So Tim, welcome aboard, Good Ship Lollipop.
Yes. I am your partner in crime. Angus, you probably remember this. It was New York. And the very first day I met you, you pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I'm going to propose to your sister-in-law and I need your help." And so I got you in Rockefeller Center. I got the camera ready and anyway, took a picture. You guys had an amazing moment, but I realized I've kind of been your accomplice ever since. So I'm really excited to be a part of this show. It is daytime here in Kailua, Hawaii, on the beautiful island of Oahu. And it is nighttime there in Lisbon, Portugal. So a lot has changed. There's a new name, new location for you. What has changed kind of over these last few years for you?
So what has changed since all of this? Life got in the way. I was doing the show. Some of you heard me and kind of the infancy of how I was growing my coaching business, coming out of running an innovation association and recognizing that I had a gift to speak into people's lives. I started an organization where I started doing coaching altogether. I kept that as kind of a side hustle, I guess you could call it. It was my passion and my passion project at the same time. And I worked some other jobs. And then COVID hit. So if you all remember that little pandemic we went through, I got my cords clipped from the day job, but I was already making more money coaching than I was in my day job. So even I had some of my own limiting beliefs where I was like holding the day job as like a safety mechanism. And then all of a sudden, well, that's gone. And suddenly I'm doing coaching full time. And I built that into a business. And then you went through one of the programs, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit here in a second. And then I said, hey, well, what if you became one of our coaches and started leading some of the group components of what we were doing here? And now flash forward, it's been, since I started coaching 7 years now-ish. Wow. And we're doing some amazing things. And now with this show, we've got more things for you. So the number one, again, we've changed the name to Evolve Leadership. And I'll touch on that in just a moment. But first, Tim, I want to turn the microphone over to you to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So Angus, I've been in the mentorship space in nonprofit world for 20 years and my whole career. And you invited me to be a part of one of the mastermind groups. And I think like a lot of leaders, I'm like, yeah, it's sort of a take it or leave it for coaching. It's like, yeah, it would be a good added bonus, to have. And for, because we're brother-in-laws, for those of you who haven't put the two math together, our wives are sisters. because of that, I was like, I'm doing you a favor, so I get in the program and I am blown away. And listen, I've been mentoring and counseling and doing so many different things for leaders. And I'm like, how did I miss this? And I think for a lot of people in our journey, we don't realize that there's added things that can really take us to the next level. And I got to experience that. And so it was really fun when you invited me to come on as your senior coach, because I believe in it. It's radically changed my life. And I'm so excited to see it change many, many more. And so I'm excited about this. Now, the podcast, there's a new focus. We have some really fascinating and interesting people. I like to think of myself as 1 degree of separation from almost anyone in the world, because Angus, your network is vast. It's like, I have people randomly come up and go, do you know Angus Nelson? I'm like, yeah, he's my brother-in-law. And so we have some amazing guests that from bumping into at different places that are going to be on the show. So tell us a little bit more about the focus of the show.
Sure. A little Kevin Bacon reference there.
Right.
You said I'm 1 degree. Kevin Bacon 6 degrees. Like that's saying something.
All I need is Angus Nelson, and I'm there.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. I'm sweating. Okay, so what you can expect, some of the information that I want to share with you right out the gate. Number one is we don't know. A lot of it's going to be us unfolding the stories of people, and ideally stories you've never heard before, because as you've listened to the show or you're familiar with me, we like to get past all the facade. We like to get past all of the stuff that people like just kind of placate. They just kind of like throw it out there, but they don't necessarily go deep. And on this show, we want to go deep. What are the elements of people who are in leadership today that we are wrestling with in real time? What are the things that are causing us to have a lack of confidence, facing uncertainty, ambiguity, innovation? All of this requires courage, confidence, audacity. What does that look like? And then what are some of the areas about ourselves where we have self-doubt and limiting beliefs? What are those things about leadership that help us to overcome, override, retool, release, refresh? What are the things that help us to get out of burnout and deal with anxiety and stress? What are the things that help us show up for our partners, for our kids at home? What are the things that help us have better work-life balance? What are the things that give us fulfillment, satisfaction? What are the things that give us meaning and purpose? Like, we're going to dive into all of that because this show is called Evolve Leadership. In the same way the world is changing, in the same way markets are shifting, in the same way that all the things that we're experiencing, from AI to autonomous vehicles to drones to rocket ships, to be able to fly from point A to point B and actually enter the stratosphere,
right?
So much is changing. Why are we trying to lead our teams the same way we always have?
Let me just pause for a second to say this. There is one trait that you will find in every successful leader, no matter their industry, no matter their role. And that trait is action. And we want to inspire ambitious leaders like you to bet on yourself and take action on those audacious goals that you see in your heart. That's why we created our 90-day accelerator. It's a results-driven, battle-tested framework designed specifically for high-performing leaders like you to get unstuck and propel you towards your goals. And in just 90 days, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. To be a part of this elite community, go to evolveleadership.org. Now, back to the show.
Things have to change. So we, as everything else is evolving, we have to evolve too. And this show, that's the trajectory we're on. And for you, Tim, you yourself have evolved in your leadership and who you become. Me, I've evolved in how I've done what I've done. And even on the show, the way that I do podcasts, the way that I interview has evolved. I've been on another podcast, which I won't mention, for another company. And I've learned how to be better at being more succinct and more direct and more proficient and succinct. So if you listen to some of the old shows, I look at some of those, I'm like, well, that was a nice time. That was quaint. But now we're getting better, and we're only going to continue.
We're all on a journey.
Right? And we'll get better and better. So for you, Tim, what are you excited about? Because you've already had some of these conversations. You've already listened to some of these interviews, even before the listener here at home has.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I'm excited for us to build into the conversation is how to have sustained success. Some of the guys and leaders and women that we are having on the show have experienced success and then hit some rockiness, hit some one of those, I thought this was going to make me happy. Why is my personal life falling apart even in the midst of the American dream? And so how do we, even stepping into these different levels as leaders, how do we create a life and design a life that can lead to a real sustained success in, with our relationship with our kids, with our spouse, in our personal mental health, and in our finances and business life? So I'm excited to be able to explore that idea of sustained success, that we can have a business we look back 30 years and we're happy. It's not just a dumpster fire of broken relationships and mental health and other things like that.
For sure. And I think that takes us to, this other aspect, and you said it, happy. Like, if there's anything at the end of the day that I want for my clients, for you, the listener at home, I want you to be a happy leader. And it may sound trite. It may sound like wishy-washy, hopey, pray type of things. But I would tell you it's possible. Like Tim and I, we are not gurus here who are going to wave some magic wand and we're going to fix you because you're not broken. We're in a place where we are extracting and pulling out of our listeners, out of the clients we serve, out of the companies that we show up. We are pulling out of them their greatness. Because oftentimes, in and amongst doing the leadership, in and amongst tackling all the challenges that you're facing, oftentimes we forget to measure our wins, to recognize our progress, to recognize how far we've come, so that we can sit back at the end of the day and say, crap, what an amazing ride this has been. And then finally, shifting you into alignment, aligning to the way that you lead in a way that brings fulfillment, satisfaction, the thing that brings you that feeling of purpose, feeling of being alive. You got into what you're doing for a reason. And perhaps maybe you have forgotten. Perhaps maybe you need to hone. Perhaps you need to reframe, reshape, realign. That's what this show is going to be all about. This show is to help you become that happy leader, to help you become the leader you need to be for your families, for your business, for your teams, most of all for yourself. We're going to help you to evolve as a leader so you can be the kind of leader for a modern world. Tim? Anything you want to add before we close out?
No, I'm so fired up, bro.
Whoop, whoop.
I am ready for this. This is going to be an awesome ride. Hey, wherever you're listening, get ready, because we have some amazing people coming your way, some amazing insights, and we don't have to stay the same. If we hit a plateau, if we hit a spot where we feel stuck, we can always evolve. We are growth mindset leaders who are stepping into that next level of who the leaders that we really see in our hearts. So let's do this, brother.
Come on. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us. As we wrap up another episode of Evolve Leadership, thank you so much for taking time to invest in you. If there's to be any sustainable growth in your company or even in your relationships, you must grow first. And it's what I love to do for leaders, to help them grow, to challenge their thinking, sharpen self-awareness, to instill an unshakable confidence, and ultimately upgrade their sense of self. And we do this through our proprietary method called Agile EQ Plus, where we're leveraging agile leadership and emotional intelligence. We provide our signature training for individuals, and for businesses, we've designed a unique curriculum for company-wide learning and development. If you'd like to learn more about our training or to schedule a call, you can simply go to evolveleadership.org. And until next time, stay driven, keep climbing, and never stop evolving.